The world's first modern zoo was opened in Paris, France in 1793, initially opened to research the animals that were kept inside. And the first aquarium was built in 1856, but only for the intent of commercially displaying them for visitors. I'm sure it's safe to say that most everyone here can think back to a childhood or even adult memory of going to the zoo and seeing crazy and exotic animals that shouldn't even be on this side of the planet for the first time. It's almost awe-inspiring. But at the same time, you might catch yourself feeling bad for these creatures, thinking they deserve better. They don't deserve to be locked in these enclosures their entire lives. I've done extensive research over zoos and aquariums, and today I'm here to tell you why commercial zoos and aquariums should be closed. They should be closed down because they directly violate animals' rights, it's dangerous for the workers in these environments, and they support illegal black markets around the world. First thing I would like to address is that zoos and aquariums are against and directly violate pretty much any right to life an animal has. They keep them locked in small enclosures every second of every day. According to researchers at Polar Bears International, a wildlife conservation group, they tracked a female polar bear traveling 4,796 kilometers, or almost 3,000 miles. That's an extreme distance, of course, but compared to the 1 square acre it would get in captivity, it's heartbreaking to hear that. Also, being born and raised in captivity greatly reduces an animal's lifespan, especially in the case of large animals that have few predators and would otherwise live a long life in the wild, might only live out half of their intended lifespan in captivity. Also, one terrible fact about being born and raised in captivity, these animals have never had to learn how to hunt and forage for food in a natural environment, and it's always been provided to them, so these animals can never be released into the wild or they would starve to death. The second thing I'd like to talk about is just how dangerous it is for workers in these zoos and constantly being in close contact with dangerous wild animals. In the past 26 years, there have been 256 injuries in large zoos around the world that have resulted in 33 deaths, and that's not including small and privately owned zoos that don't report instances like these. That may not really seem like a lot to some people, but the fact is that every one of these instances could have been avoided if zoos were not a thing, or if they were more focused towards animals and their well-being. Also, not only is it dangerous for the workers, but it's also shown to be deadly for any animal that may escape their enclosure not knowing any better, or even worse, whenever civilians enter these animals' enclosures, whether thinking it's funny or not. I'm sure most here have heard about the lowland gorilla named Harambe and the tragic event that happened to him. A young boy and his mother took a trip to the zoo one day, and witnesses there heard the boy say to his mother, "I want to go in the water like the gorillas." And while his mother's back was turned, that's exactly what he did. He fell about 15 feet in the water, where Harambe then grabbed and dragged him around for about 2 minutes before zoo workers made the difficult decision to put down the gorilla for the sake of the child's safety. And last but not least, zoos and aquariums, whether public or private, support illegal animal trades and black markets around the world. According to the United Nations, the global illegal wildlife trade is worth anywhere from $7 to $23 billion. That's absolutely insane. It's hard to say exactly how much of that money comes from zoos and aquariums, but in the case of smaller zoos that are regulated much, much less, without a doubt they engage in illegal buying and selling of animals and aquatic life. It's safe to say that almost everyone here has probably heard of the show Tiger King, and the main character, Joe Exotic. That show is just an example of one of the hundreds of compounds in America that breed, buy, and sell animals illegally just so that they can make a profit. I hope something that I've said today could make some sort of impact or resonate about how you feel about zoos and aquariums, and maybe even convinced you to support this cause. Just to reiterate once more, zoos and aquariums should be outlawed because they directly violate animals' rights to life, it's dangerous for workers and animals in those environments, and they support illegal black markets across the world.